And hello everybody, welcome back to British Stand. Today we're going to be reacting to an excruciating watch between a news host and a Labour MP, where basically the news host exposes Rachel Reeves' blatant lie about us all being £500 better off after the spring statement, which comes in effect, of course, tomorrow on April 1st. Now, Dan Jarvis simply couldn't justify it when asked these questions, and of course did the same Labour mantra of, blaming it on the Tories and all of these kind of things. I mean, play bingo when we're watching and reacting to this interview yourself. Of course, you'll have the 14-year Tory failure, always deflecting it onto them, avoiding questions, and genuinely just lying within the interview. Let's have a watch, guys. But as I said, I'm going to give you a warning. It's extremely painful to watch. It really is. But let's have a little watch of this, guys. But as always, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more British content. Let's have a watch of this absolute mess.
But the Chancellor's economic sums don't add up, do they, Mr Jarvis? On one hand, she says she is sticking to her non-negotiable fiscal rules, and we discover that she's borrowing 20 billion more over the next 2 years. She then made the claim that British householders would be £500 better off by the budget. Actually, in reality, this is what's going to happen to bills after April the 1st. Water up 26%, energy up 6.4%, broadband up 6.4%, council tax up 5%, trains up 4.6%, stamp duty up, tax up, mobile contracts up, TV licence up. So how on earth has she come up with this £500 figure?
Well, with respect, you didn't mention the economic inheritance, the fact that we inherited a massive financial
I'm talking about the £500 promise only, Mr Jarvis. Can we address that rather than talking about 14 years of Tory rule? How on earth can she promise £500? It's the same as Ed Miliband saying that there would be £300 off energy bills, when actually more than £300 has been added to energy bills since Labour took power.
But I hope that you and your viewers would acknowledge the very challenging financial circumstances that we inherited from the previous government. And yes, of course, the Chancellor has had to take difficult decisions in order to fix the foundations of our economy so that we are best placed to secure economic growth and invest in public services that have been run down over many years. The Chancellor has had to take difficult decisions, but we are confident that over the course of this Parliament, that will result in economic growth, which will allow us to more effectively invest in public services, which will improve...
I appreciate the economic inheritance, but to suggest that we're going to be £500 better off is a lie, isn't it? I've just given you the figures to suggest precisely the opposite will be true. So why is she telling lies in spring statements?
She isn't, and I think that is an unfair and unreasonable criticism. The Chancellor is doing a good job under very difficult circumstances. Yes, she's had to make some difficult choices. Yes, there have been some criticisms around those choices. But in large part, this is clearing up the mess that we inherited. And that is what this government will continue to do, to ensure that we take the tough decisions that the previous government shied away from, not least in terms of things like welfare reform, the measures that we've announced with regard to NHS England.
Hang on.
There is good news as well.
Right.
I mean, look at what the OBR said in terms of the work that we're doing on planning reform that will deliver a £6 billion uplift to our economy.
Although it's also been pointed out by the OBR that Labour will not hit its 1.5 million housing target by the end of the Parliament. But my question is this, Mr Jarvis. How on earth can it be credible for the Chancellor to have claimed, considering everything you've said about the economic legacy that you've inherited, the difficult situation the Chancellor herself has blamed world events, how on earth is it credible to suggest that the British public will be £500 better off after her budget and spring statement? It's an untruth.
Well, I know as a constituency MP that we are still living through the legacy of the cost of living crisis, and times are very tough for lots of people. But that is precisely why the government is making tough choices. That is why we are reforming welfare, because let's be honest about it, significant amount of money has been invested into welfare without the reforms that need to go with it. Look at the money that we've invested into the NHS, but the value that that is now adding in terms of reduced waiting lists month
Okay,
after month.
I'm going to ask one more time. Is the £500 claim true when I have listed all of the bills that are going to go up for householders after April the 1st? Is it true to say we're going to be £500 better off because all of the sums suggest precisely the opposite?
Well, I completely back what the Chancellor has said. She will look at this in the round. She will look at the costs that people will have to cover. She absolutely acknowledges the difficult circumstances that we're operating in. And is why the government is taking tough choices to fix the foundations of our economy so that we've got the resource available there to invest in our public services for the benefit of the public.
Why do you think so many millionaires are leaving the country under Labour? One every 45 minutes. We now hear that the steel giant Lakshmi Mittal will be the latest to leave the country.
Well, in truth, and I mean this very respectfully, you'd have to ask them.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I got a full house there. All three of them, the 14-year inheritance, of course, that they always rumble on about on any live interview, always talking, deflecting, blaming, whether that be Prime Minister's Question Time, whether that be in interviews, always deflecting, always talking about, inheriting difficult circumstances. He also avoided a question as well, right at the end. Are Britons going to be £500 better off after the spring statement? And he refused to answer the question. He kind of just deeted around it and gave every answer possible without actually answering the question. So I take that as a no then. I mean, it's simple. She gave the evidence as to how many bills are going to be going up. And Rachel Reeves did say that we're going to be £500 better off. So when she asked him the question, he didn't answer it. So obviously that's clear. And I mean, there was a couple of lies thrown in there. So a full house, if it was a game of bingo, I think we'd all be prize winners here today. And as I said, I got a full house completely. But my goodness me, I mean, every single time I've done a lot of these ones in terms of reactionary videos to Labour MPs in live TV interviews. And to be fair, this is probably one of the maddest ones. I mean, he was ruthlessly destroyed. He was that news host completely exposed Rachel Reeves' spring budget entirely. But he didn't have a foot to stand on in terms of trying to defend it whatsoever. I mean, the problem is with Labour MPs, they always pull the party mantra. They always give the sort of answers as to what the Keir Starmer tells them to give, and they can never really form an opinion of themselves, and they can't really talk or articulate their point on live television. So that was an absolute car crash of an interview, and quite frankly exposes Labour massively. And Dan Jarvis, my goodness me, he looks completely out of depth in that interview, and there you go. The truth is out with regard to the spring statement, and you've got it there for all to see. Guys, do let me know your thoughts on this one down there in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button and all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.